I want to do hard things. So I have 3 trigger words: scary, difficult, and hard. If I say it, if I think it, if I feel it, I have to do it just because. Even if it's completely unrelated, if I say,
oh, that's too hard, now I have to do it.
Because I want to be the person who does hard things, not for anybody, for me. Like what I might find hard, you might think, dude, that you find hard? That's ridiculous. But it's hard for me. So I don't want to accept hard as a good enough reason for me not to do something, because all of our greatest ambitions and goals are on the other side of scary, difficult, and hard. So the fact that it's, if I say one of those 3 things, I have to go off and do that thing. And so that's a push. That is a push forward to say, I must go do this. I want to grow and learn and be better.
Hey, it's Evan Carmichael, and I watch these videos every day because I need them for motivation. Being around successful entrepreneurs every morning helps me believe that I can do great things too. It's like your morning coffee, but for your goals, kickstarting your day with a blast of positivity. So here is a challenge for you. Try watching one video every morning for the next 30 days. And let's find out together if they help you do great things too. If you're in, leave a hashtag believe in the comments below so I can celebrate with you. So today, let's learn from me and my team's take on my top 10 rules of success. Enjoy. Rule number 2 is don't fear failure. I didn't want to live with the regret of not knowing. And so I told myself I'd rather know and fail than not knowing. Even if it didn't work out, at least I would know, because I didn't want to be an old man at 40, is what I would tell myself. When I'm 40 and life is over and you're finished, you know, and you look back on your life, you're going to regret not knowing. So that got me into the path of starting my first business. Struggled, failed, some of the worst years of my life, eventually built and sold. I don't know how deep you want to go into that stuff, but coming out of high school, I mean, I had a lot of entrepreneurial drives and tendencies, but didn't really know where to put them. And so I'm really grateful that I discovered entrepreneurship. And if you keep trying and keep improving, keep getting better, you will not suck anymore. So that's where a lot of people struggle. They know what looks good. They feel they can make it. They can't at the beginning. And so they stop trying. In terms of keeping going, how do you keep going when you're struggling and failing and not seeing the results? People ask me this all the time, where, it took me 5 years to get to 5,000 subscribers or whatever close numbers like that, where a lot of people, they're hitting that in the first few months. It took me 5 years to get there. I like sharing the journey because it's great to see 3 million, whatever now, but 5 years, 5,000 subscribers. What kept me going through those days was I always focus on who I was serving instead of who I'm not. Rule number 3 is be a good storyteller.
In the book, there's the structure of how to do a perfect thought leadership piece of content. I would hone in on that. I would guess you would be great at your storytelling. You could easily tell a 3, 4, 5 minute story or more. Your story, client story, somebody you've mentored, something you see happening with young real estate agents, salespeople, addicts. Like, there's lots of stories you could tell. I think you'd be great at that. Sure. I think the practical advice piece, you'd probably be great at that too. So, okay, to solve this problem, do 1, 2, 3. Step 1, do this. And I'm sure you've just had enough experience. You can, even if you had a point form, you could talk to those points and be eloquent and tons of value. Where most people struggle is the opening. So you got to hit me with something that you believe that most people would find different or weird.
Rule number 4 is never quit. The biggest failure I had was I quit on my business partner. So this is why I try to encourage people to keep going and believe and all, because that was me, because I needed it, because 20-year-old Evan that badly needed that message. We were not having success. I was a year in on this business. I turned down my dream job to take this, company opportunity. All my friends were getting rich, doing all this stuff, and I was too poor to go hang out with them, and I was too embarrassed to tell them that I was broke. Right? They want to hang out, and I can't, because $20 for pizza and beer, and then like bowling night or whatever would be too much, right? And so I said, I can't. I'm hustling. I'm living the entrepreneur life. I like that. I can't. I make $300 a month, guys. I can't afford this. So at some point, it just got to a breaking point where I can't handle this anymore. I'm busting my butt like every day. Wake up, it's dark. I go to my partner's condo. It's dark. I leave and go home. Right, bean salad for lunch every day, just day in, day out. If you weren't working hard and you're not getting results, that's fine. You can kind of understand. But when you're grinding every single day, all day, and have no other life, and you're still not getting results, I don't know. I think at some point it just beats you down. I can't take this anymore. And so at a family event, I don't know, it was Christmas or Thanksgiving or whatever, I told my business partner, like, I can't do this anymore. I need to feel like I'm a valuable person. And just isn't working. And so I quit. And then I cried like crazy, had stuff coming out of my eyes, my nose, I was just totally lost. And the next day I woke up and felt I can't quit yet because I'm going to regret if I quit now. I know, again, when I'm an old man at 40, I'm going to regret this life-changing decision. But I can't keep going the way that I'm going. I have to find something else because this is not working as it is. And that's where I had a aha moment kind of at my bottom, which was, I'm not the first guy to try to build software before and sell it. Like, who's done this? And the first guy I thought of was Bill Gates, who started Microsoft. So I thought, okay, how did Bill Gates do it? I'm going to learn his story, and maybe there's something I can learn from it. And I did. I looked at how Microsoft got started. Not how did he make an extra $1 million now? Like, who cares? Makes $1 million a second just sitting around. Right? How did he go from 0 to 1? That's what I wanted to do. And I looked at his story and copied that strategy. And shortly after, I had my first deal for $13,500 in my business. And grand scheme of things, that's not a lot of money, but holy cow, when you're making $300 a month and you get a $13.5K deal, my dude, I was rich. Like, I won the lottery. I have dollars hitting my bank account. I felt rich. And more important is like hope, like, oh my gosh, something finally worked. Like, maybe this could actually happen, light at the end of the tunnel. And then I just modeled that strategy to keep getting more and more and more growth. Also, to make sure you're actually taking action after watching this video, I've designed a special free worksheet just for this video. The worksheet will highlight our favorite lessons from the video that will inspire you to remember what you learned today and actually apply them. The worksheet will also give you space to write down what your key takeaways are and your specific plan of action to make sure you're getting results. If you want the worksheet designed specifically for this video, absolutely for free, there's a link in the description below. Go click on it and start building the momentum in your life and your business. I'll see you there. Rule number 5 is lower your expectations.
The goal today, though, is just figure out if Namecheap the right option. That's it. That's our goal. Yeah. That's our philosophy 1 truth. And maybe you figure that out in 20 minutes after watching one training, or maybe it takes you 3 hours of going through it to kind of figure it out. But the idea is this is the goal for the rest of the day, that if you hit that, it's like, hey, pat on the back. Like, I set a goal and I hit it. I said I was going to do it and I did it.
Okay.
And if you complete that, you can always add more. You can always, you know what, I'm going to try actually building my website instead of just researching. I'm going to try just making a home page and just playing around with some text and maybe doing, but it's not the requirement for the day.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So we still got a big vision and big mission of what we're going to accomplish, but we're lowering our expectations for what we want to do today, because we don't want to train ourselves that you set goals and then don't follow through. And then you feel like, you don't feel great because you said you're going to do 10 things and you did like half of one.
Rule number 6 is find another way. It's one thing if you're not trying and you're not getting results, but I was trying every day, all day long, and just nothing, no results, just zero. And I remember I called them up and said, I quit. I have to go find something that makes me feel useful as a human being. Wow. I wasn't, in depression or suicidal or anything like that, but just, I felt useless. And then I woke up the next day and I felt, okay, I can't quit yet because I'm going to regret it if I do. And I had there's a quote from Oprah that was in my head that's just, find another way to stand.
Ooh,
you have to find another way to stand. Like, you don't quit, but you just find another way to stand. So, okay, what's another way that I can stand? Rule number 7 is take advantage of social media.
You could do this. Okay. Where you do it over something like Instagram Live to help build your Instagram audience up, or it could just be a separate Zoom that you do either for paying members. So, hey, as a bonus, you also get a one-on-one with Grant.
Okay.
Right.
And then sorry to interrupt you, but then do you take this and put it back into YouTube? Meaning, you? Okay. Because
not all of the, like, I have a daily show here. Not all of them get cut for YouTube. Some of them, if it's really good, it'll get cut. My team just decides on which one goes up. But yeah, so I go live daily on Instagram. And that helps the Instagram audience and also creates content for other potential platforms. I mean, this could get cut up into a million different ways for different platforms, depending on what comes out of it. Sure. But that you could have it as a bonus. So, hey, here's my membership and it costs X per month. But if you sign up for the annual deal, you also get a one-on-one with Grant that then can be turned into content, right? So you can use it to get people into your program. If you love it and you want to do more of it, then maybe you have enough members to back it up. If not, then you can do it for free and people get to see you coaching, so that if it's free, then it's public. If it's free, then it's going to be online. And some people may not want it to be public. So say, okay, great. Well, I've got a coaching package and I've got my membership program where you can train with me every 2 weeks. Sure. Right. So the free gives you the attention that then shows off you as a coach, because if you want to sell a membership program where you're going to be coaching people, I need to see you as a coach. Right. Not just a thought leader talking to the camera. I need to see you like get the bug eyes, like, oh my God, Grant, I can't believe what you just said. That saved my life.
Rule number 8 is have clarity. I think if you know what you want to do, that's the time to focus and build and grow. Like if you want to build the #1 podcast for entrepreneurs, great. Then when somebody says, hey, do you want to join me at truck driving school? You say no, because you know what you want to do. You have the path. But if you don't know what you do, and you like this, you'll often go on these ebbs and flows. Whenever you don't know what to do, the best thing is to say, yeah, I'll join you at truck driver school.
Yeah, 100%.
Right? Like you go once and you see. Yeah. Right? Just like people who decide that pizza is their favorite food before they've tried sushi or burritos or anything else, right? You want to taste it and try. So if you don't have clarity over what you want, you're not going to figure out what you want sitting on the couch. You got to get out there and do. But if you do have clarity over what you want, then that's the time to put the blinders on and focus. Say, I'm building this thing. Don't distract me with your other opportunities. Thank you. I love you, but I got to build my thing.
Rule number 9 is be strategic. If you focused your efforts and just got your 10, that then allows you to go hire more team to go do more things and make things so much easier. So what's our clearest path to get to 10? So if we now look at the YouTube channel, they have to be separate channels. You can't have an English and Chinese channel on the same channel.
They are separate. Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Where do I spend more time right now? On my Chinese channel.
All right.
I won't understand it.
Yeah.
I could have Nina look at it and say, what is she saying? But it probably won't hit that many people in China.
Right.
But the Chinese population in North America will be able to watch it and see.
Yeah.
You're probably going to be the only one talking about complex trauma therapy on YouTube in Chinese.
For now, blue ocean.
Yeah. And again, you need 10.
Right.
We're not trying to go, eventually, we're going to go change the world.
Yeah.
And be in English and in Chinese and
down the road.
Billions of views and everything. Great.
Right.
Cool. But the path to be able to get there is just, again, the sequence. What are the steps? Because if you do everything, you're working with all these consultants and all these different things in English and Chinese and all, it's like, then again, there's lots of opportunity, but very little progress.
Right, right. Stay focused.
Stay focused.
Yeah.
So the first goal is get the 10 in Chinese, focus on Chinese, do the webinar in Chinese. For Tim, ask him about connections in Chinese. You have your Chinese people that you hired. Okay, guys, we need to get 10 people that I'm going to work with one-on-one.
Yeah.
The YouTube content can be in Chinese.
Yeah.
Because if you start making regular Chinese content on YouTube for complex trauma therapy, right? Everybody who's helping you can now use that content.
Yeah.
So the woman in California can take some of those clips and put that into the webinar. And the people in China that you hired can send some of those videos or clip them and use them in their sales process.
That's a good point.
And Tim can filter some of his people and send off this video in China. So like if you have content going up, people will discover you on YouTube, but your current network can also help share some of this stuff for you.
Yeah, right? That's a good point. Yeah.
You don't need millions of views on your videos yet.
Yeah.
Like we'll get there, right?
Totally agree.
That's the mission.
Yeah.
But we need the right people seeing it who might then hire you.
And rule number 10, the last one before some very special bonus clips, is start now.
Somebody's starting day one, no resources. They want to start putting content out into the world. What is the #1 thing to think about? Is it process? Is it, you mentioned some mindset things, but the actual doing, if they're going to start today, what advice would you give them?
You pull out your phone, if you go on YouTube, you turn it sideways, you press record, right? Like, I think it depends on the industry that you're going to, what your niche is. I specialize in education, thought leadership, specifically entrepreneurship, personal development. If that's you, then people over focus on like quality content. They think of quality of production, the camera you use, the microphone you use, the lighting, and that barely matters. Like inside of thought leadership education, what matters most is quality of thought. Can you teach me something that I don't know? Your job as a thought leader is to take what's in your head and plant it into your audience's head. Now, if you're a videographer, then yeah, your reel better look fire. If you're a videographer, I don't want to see a bunch of YouTube videos with like shaky hand on your cell phone, right? I mean, you're not going to get hired for that. But if you're a speaker, you want to be an expert, you're a coach, you're a trainer, you're selling consulting, then it's not so much about how good it looks. It's more about how good you are. And we overthink and overanalyze and overprepare and overscript all of our videos. If you thought about how much time you spent, and I mean, I'm guilty too. Go back and watch my first videos. I did all the same mistakes everybody else did as well. My first video, I'm sitting down, I'm in a suit, super uncomfortable. We have the perfect setting and lighting and all this stuff behind us. And that video was not fire. I mean, it's taken off because it's my first video and people want to see what video number 1 is, but it's not like it was some amazing video because I sucked, because I was nervous and I didn't have a great message. So the most important thing is just get the phone out and imagine you're not speaking to a lens, but imagine you're speaking to a human, and it can either be yourself, like you're going to sit down with, I would sit down with 19-year-old Evan and like, here's what you need to know, 19-year-old Evan, replace the camera lens with person's face, or an actual friend of yours.
Do you think that for people who are looking at making an impact, whether that be online or through content or speaking or any of those different avenues, where do you see that kind of the next horizon, kind of like you entered YouTube very early on? What do you think's next?
So I think it depends on what your mission is, right? So for me, I've got a giant mission, right? I want to impact the whole world. And so how do you do that? Well, my hypothesis is that it's content at scale. And if you're going to do content at scale, you've got two options, long form or short form. Like the platforms are basically divided. TikTok and Snap and Facebook and Instagram are all short form content. And then YouTube is long form, and YouTube has shorts, I guess, as a combination. But there's YouTube on one side with the long form and all the other content, which is short form. And if you want to have an impact and really want to make a difference, I think it's hard to do it in 30-second little clips. So that's a lot more inspiring, but it's not really making a huge impact. If you're trying to explain multifamily investing in a 42-second video, like, good luck, right? So, but it's fine. Like, the shorts have their own path. It's to inspire, but it's not really to do deep education. And you're not really doing any of the deep work just from the clip. So hopefully the clips inspire somebody to start down the path to learn more about this thing.
Tell me about your daily routine.
So I have a morning routine and an evening routine that are fairly consistent. And then I have a daily routine that's different than other days. So one day a week to do different things. In terms of that kind of daily routine that switches up, switching costs are real, even in monotasking. Like, we know multitasking of trying to do multiple things at once, but even monotasking to do one thing at a time, switching costs are huge between jumping from one thing to another. So if I'm going to jump from you to then go and write my book, to then going and doing email, to then go, it's too much of a switch. For me to get into the zone of writing my book, I need 45 minutes just to get back to where I was from the last time I left off from it. So I try to assign different things for different days. Now I'm in complete control pretty much of my calendar. That may not be the case for everybody, but for what you can control, then being intentional about it. So for me, Monday is my mentoring day. We have 40 people on my team. I want to be the kind of boss that when they come in, we make them a better human than if they ever leave, right? So I spend the whole day mentoring the people on my team. Tuesday is my YouTube day. It's content day. I'm filming. Like if you do not have time on your calendar to film, you're not going to film. You're not going to make the content. If you wait till you're inspired, you're never going to make anything. So Tuesday is like YouTube. It's consistent. It's in my calendar. Every Tuesday I'm making content. Wednesday is my project day, and that is free. It's open. It's whatever I want to work on, because the overscheduled entrepreneur usually ends up hating their life or their business because they never have time to work on the things that is new into their company. So my Tuesdays and Thursdays are really jam-packed. Wednesday in the middle is completely open. So yesterday was a Wednesday, I'm working on my book. Next Wednesday, I might work on something completely different. And it doesn't always have to have a practical payoff. It's just something new, fun, experience. Creativity is messy. So Wednesday's a messy day. Thursday is my public facing day. Interviews, podcast. Today's a Thursday when we're recording this, right?
That's right.
So when we book these, I have 25 minutes on, 5-minute break, 25 minutes on, 5-minute break. So after this, I'm going into another 25-minute session, then a 5-minute break. And it's like my whole day gets filled up doing other people's shows and podcasts. And it's just staying in the same energy. Like the energy you're getting now, I'm naturally introverted and shy. People don't get that about me. It doesn't come across, but the energy I'm showing up for your show is the result of the 5 other shows I've done before getting to you. Right. And I'm going to then take Ashish energy and pour it into the next person. Yeah, right. So you're not sucking my energy. You're feeding me energy that I'm then going to pour into the person who comes afterwards. Right. So like staying in that energy zone is really important. That's how the day flies by and you get into flow instead of having to jump from one thing to the next. Friday's my CEO day. And I started with CEO hours. Like if I had 1 hour, what would I do if I was a CEO? Like whatever that means to you, you're the CEO of your business now. What does that person do? And I moved it to be the whole day. So like working on the business instead of in the business. And then apply it to the weekend. Like Saturday is fun day. Saturday is fun stuff to do with my wife, with the family. Not like we just got a new house and there's insane amounts of work that has to get done, but that's not Saturday. Saturday is what we're going to do for fun. New restaurant, street festival, drive-in movie theater, hang out, like whatever, but fun. And then Sunday is family admin day, where that's the
getting ready for
furniture
school
and
exactly.
going to Costco and doing the laundry and whatever. And then it repeats again on Monday. And like that, your actions have to map to your ambitions. You have goals of what you want to accomplish, and not just like business goals, but a life. What do you want to, what does your dream life look like? And then you have to have it in your calendar to do the actions. Otherwise it just becomes, a hope. So that's my,
I love it.
It's my
life design, man. It's all about life design.
And it'll change and switch, right?
Yeah, like it changes.
At the beginning, I had nobody on my team, so I didn't have a mentoring day. Who was I mentoring? Nobody. So let's get to work. Now I have 40 people on my team, so I need to have a day focused on mentoring. And so the willingness, this is like the willingness to pivot and change, especially in entrepreneurship, because you learn and grow, right? Like entrepreneurship is the greatest personal development course of all time. You're learning and growing and improving. So it's crazy to think that how you start and what you're working on now is still going to be the same thing in 3 years. Like your business has to pivot and change, and your calendar has to pivot and change as you change and evolve as a human being. So wherever I'm not happy, especially consistently, like if it's a couple of days in a row of not being happy, something is wrong in my calendar. Like I'm just not doing the right things anymore, and I need to make a change. And if you can catch it early enough, then you don't end up having this giant crisis where you have to make this insane change, right? Because you feel you just fell completely out of alignment with yourself.
Throughout that journey, there had to be some kind of perspective on the monetary gain of the growth, of the gain of growth of that respect. Was it always like, I want to serve people? Or how did you kind of get past that first jump in the beginning where, I mean, a lot of people aren't really focused on serving. They're just focused on getting to a point where they can serve sustainably, if that makes sense.
Yeah. So, I mean, I'm an entrepreneur. I like making money. You have to make money. If you have a big mission, even if you want to serve, I'm service first, like mission first, purpose first, change the world first. Awesome. And you have to learn to make money. So I say money can't be number one, but it's got to be in your top 5. If making money is in your top 100, you're not going to make money. And then you're just helping people on the evenings and weekends, which is still great, but it's not what you could be doing, right? We've got over 50 people on my team now because we know how to make money. If we didn't, then I'd be doing this. I probably wouldn't be on here talking to you because I'd have to do a million other things in my business just to keep the thing going. And so whether you're doing advertising or brand deals or sponsorships, or you have a product or service that you're selling, figuring out how you're going to make money is really, really, really important, especially in the early days. because that is usually the thing that kills most people's dreams. It kills most people's podcasts and shows. It's like, man, that was so much fun to do, but I can't justify the time doing it anymore because I need to make money. And so I have to go back and get a job.
In what way did you get better, and what did you invest in?
So it was mindset and skill set. So in the mindset, I'm introverted, I'm shy. That doesn't come across on like interviews like this, but I don't like the spotlight. I don't like being on stage. It makes me nervous. It's not enjoyable. I just came back from a 3-day event in Vegas where I was speaking with Gary Vee and Patrick Bet-David and other great speakers on stage. And I don't like being on stage. I like the effect it creates in the hallway afterwards to go help people. So I'm the only speaker who sticks around, and then I stay for hours in the hallway talking to people because they'll come up to me and ask me questions based off of my talk, where normally I wouldn't go up to anybody and talk to them, not because I'm too good for them, but because I'm afraid. I'm introverted and shy. But we still want to serve. And so that was a huge breakthrough for me when I realized, even though I'm introverted and shy, I still want to serve. I still want to help. And all my models at the time, if you look at who's on TV, you just see the people who are big mouth and extroverted and the life of the party. And like, that wasn't me. So I thought, to do that, I'm at the same agency as Mel Robbins and Grant Cardone, and both of them very outwards focused and like the life of the party and extrovert and love talking to people. And just, that wasn't me. So it took a while for me. Once I tied it to service, then it was an unlock. It's like, this is not about me. It's about the people you can help. And then that became like, oh, okay. But how does an introvert make a lot of YouTube videos and win? I don't know, but let's figure it out. Let's try. Let's see what happens. And then the second part of that was getting help in communication and once I decided to take it more seriously, that I realized, I should be doing more than just getting coaching, getting help, and watch my videos back and becoming a better speaker. So people can get there a lot faster. It's not like, once you have 1,000 subscribers or 100,000 subscribers or 1 million subscribers or whatever it is, then instantly everything gets better. It's much more about, are you good enough? Or do you have the skill set and the talent and the mindset to actually make great content? And obviously the more repetition you put in, the better, but getting coaching and getting help and getting people to give you guidance really helped me too.
Talk to me a little bit about the service mentality and that service above self mentality that I mentioned, because I feel like it's really a part of your core. It's something that you really, really authenticate.
So I haven't heard of service above self before, but I'm also not part of Rotary. And I think ultimately service is the path to self. I think humans are built to serve. I think if you're not happy, it's because you're not serving. Every day, we all want to wake up and feel like what we do matters to somebody else. We want to feel like the job we're going to, or the business we're creating, or whatever we're going to do today is going to have an impact on somebody else. And some people, you and I, and probably most of your listeners, we want to change the world. We want to have a big impact. We want to go and have our message reach wide and far, but not because of us, but because of the impact that we want to create. And other people, like my wife, Nina, she doesn't want to have a big mission, but she serves the 25 closest people to us. She's the glue for our family. Remember everybody's birthdays and what they're doing and what they need and what they're going through and all of the stuff that I forget and probably I should get better at. But everybody wants to serve. Serving others is hardwired into our brain. They did functional MRIs on people's brains and found that serving other people hits the same part of your brain as having food and having sex. So it's like literally hardwired into your brain that you need this to be a functioning, happy member of society. I think some people have experienced things like act of kindness. You know how nice it is to buy the coffee with the person behind you in line or hold the door or those kinds of things. And those moments are great and keep doing them. But I think everybody also has a much deeper level of service where I believe that your purpose comes from your pain, that whatever you struggled the most with as a human is what you want to help other people through. And so when you can see somebody who is going through the thing that you went through and feels hopeless and lost and is struggling and doesn't see a way out, and then they spend 8 minutes with you, and you say, hey, you know what? It's okay. It's like, I went through that too. and here's how to get out. And then you see hope in their eyes for the first time. And like, you made that happen. You caused that. And then that's a spark in their life that can change the entire trajectory of their life. That's the thing they get addicted to. Like, that's what we all want. And I think we're living in a world now where a lot of people find zero meaning in their work. They're driving to a job that they hate. And I'm just trying to ignite some passion in people.
Evan, I find you so interesting because you're an introvert, and generally speaking, introverts get energy for being alone. That's kind of like part of it. Also, call me out if that's wrong. But what's interesting is you get a lot of energy from helping people, which usually in context is around people.
Yeah.
So it's just an interesting thing with you where it's like you keep saying you're an introvert, but then when we were meeting, you were like pretty chill and laid back. And then the second that we start talking about you, like it's like you were just taking the energy from the environment. So it's interesting.
I don't know that I'll speak on behalf of all introverts, but you know, my own story would be, I struggled with this a lot. My biggest fight with my agent was like, you need to be famous, Evan. It's like, I don't want to be famous. Why do I want to be famous? I don't want to be famous. And he's like, I don't understand you. Everybody I work with wants to be famous. Like, okay, cool. I don't know. I don't want to be famous. And so we fought for years until he said, you don't understand, you know, the if you get more famous, people will hear the message. And it's always been about the message. And so hanging out in most, like, I remember being in San Diego. This still happens. This is like late last year, a couple months ago in San Diego. Grant Cardone was doing this event in San Diego, and it was on a boat, and the boat was going to have like Tim Tebow and like all these celebs, and you went on a boat cruise and you come back, and because it was like 3 or 4 hours on the boat, and I'd have no way to get back if I didn't like it, I didn't go. Right? It's like, 3 hours on a boat and I have no way to get back. What if I hate it? Right? It's like terrible. I need an escape plan. I got to go. But what I realized was introverts love to serve.
Yeah.
Like, we want to serve too. We want to feel like the work we do has meaning and matters to people. And so that's what I lean in and focus on. And most conversations do drain me. If you want to talk about the weather or, I don't know, what do people talk about? I don't know what people talk about. I suck at all that stuff. I hate it. It drains me. Like, I do not like networking events. It drains me to no end. I hate introducing myself. I hate answering like, well, what do you do? All of that. Like, I never talk to the person on the airplane next to me.
Yeah.
All of it, zero. But if you can hit on like a couple of, if you're an entrepreneur or you love salsa dancing or League of Legends, we could probably have like a really deep 5-hour conversation. And so I think, at least for me, it may not be for all introverts, we love meaningful, deep, powerful conversations and none of the surface fluffy stuff. And that's the stuff that really will drain me, and I'll avoid as much as possible. Yeah.
Can you talk a little bit about the team and how you feel about creating a team around you and how that works?
Well, teams are critical to grow, and not everybody, like most small businesses, are just a solopreneur. But if you want to scale and grow, then you have to be able to work with a team, and you have to like managing people. A lot of people don't like managing people. They like just being by themselves. But if you want to get a return out of it and you want to have fun, then you have to want to mentor and lead and grow and learn to manage a team. I think you've got to first be connected. Like, for you might not love digging ditches, but you got to connect to the mission of like, hey, this is for somebody. This is for somebody's home. We're making people healthier. We're helping people's lives. Like, you have to connect to why you're doing the work. If you don't enjoy the actual like digging ditches, or you connect to like, hey, this is a good workout and I'm getting some vitamin D while we're doing this.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
But a lot of people have a hard time moving from digging ditches to then being the person who manages 50 people who are digging ditches. And you have to love people, training them. You have to love mentoring them. Like, even you going and volunteering to talk to the junior achievement kids speaks to your willingness to mentor and train and guide and just try to give back, right? That's what you have to be doing for your team. You're basically a little further ahead than them, and you become an almost father figure or uncle or older brother, depending on the age gap between you and the people on your team, to help them become better humans. You know, the goal is they become better humans when they're with you. They're not just collecting a paycheck. I encourage entrepreneurs to go through a 3-step process, which is eliminate, automate, delegate.
Okay.
So you look at the work that you're doing, and maybe you shouldn't be doing it at all. Like before you give it to somebody else, maybe it just shouldn't get done. And there's often things that we're doing that we think are really high value that then turn out to not matter. And we may not even notice it, right? I mean, before Movement Makers, I had a mastermind that I ran in Toronto for entrepreneurs. And when people joined, we took minutes, like notes of what was happening. Like I took minutes. This is before AI could do it for you and transcripts. Like I wrote down minutes for what everybody said and homework and assignments and everything. And there was 1 month where I forget what happened. Like I was going away the next day or something, and I didn't get the notes out to people after the meeting. Nobody cared. Like no response, no message, no like, hey, where's the minutes? Where's the notes? And so I didn't do it again next month. Nobody cared. It's like, wow, I've been spending all this time on something that like nobody cared about, that I thought was high value, but was actually zero value for people. Maybe it was even negative value. Maybe I was annoying them with it. I don't know. And so eliminate first, so, I mean, a lot of entrepreneurs might be frustrated with their accounting and bookkeeping. You cannot eliminate that, right? Like that has to get done.
Yeah.
You will run into problems if you try to eliminate that from your business, right?
And I was going to go into that for you, but yeah, keep going.
Yeah, the government will come for you. That is a big problem. Unless you live in some country that doesn't move to the moon or something. But that's a problem. So you can't eliminate that. But there's a lot of things that we're doing that just should not be done. They just be completely eliminated. The next is automate. So before giving it to a human, give it to technology. So use software, use tools, use AI, use QuickBooks, there's a lot of things. There's software and tools for a lot of things that you should start applying into your business that can save a lot of man hours. And then you get to delegate. So eliminate, automate, and then delegate. And so these are the things that still have to get done, but should not be done by you. So in eliminate, they shouldn't be done at all. In automate, they need to be done, but should be done by a human. And then in delegate, it should be done, but shouldn't be done by you. It has to be done by another human. And that's where you start to scale and build and create.
I think you have to trust your gut. That's what they say.
Yeah. Because opportunities are coming like that all the time. But the problem is they don't make sense a lot of times. Because that shouldn't be coming to you, or you're not qualified, or why am I thinking about that, or I didn't go to school for that, or that's not what I should be doing, right? And so we're missing all these opportunities every day that are coming by. So there might be some person walking down the street, and for whatever thought in your head, you say, I should say hi to them. Why would I do that? I don't say hi to people. I'm introvert. I'm shy. I don't talk to people, right? It's like, okay, how you doing? I'm Evan.
And you say you're an introvert.
No, but that doesn't. No, but I don't do that often. But if I had the idea then I would, right? So it's just I've had to train myself to just not think about my thoughts
and just do it.
And just do it. Trust.
Mel Robbins, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Even faster than that, right? Like trust that great ideas flow through you.
I want to give it that shot.
Now, the caveat is if you're in a really negative mood, that's where you need patience, right? Like if somebody cuts you off in traffic.
Oh, yeah.
I'm going to drive past that guy just to see what he looks like, right? But that's where we trust our impulses. We will trust our impulses when we're in a really negative state of mind. But when we're in a really positive one, that's where we pause. And we need to flip it. When you're in a really negative state of mind, some bad news happened, don't make a rash call in the moment, right? Like something negative happened, the whole world is not falling apart. Pause, reflect, sleep on it, like come back to it the next day and still see if you want to do that thing or not. But when something great is happening and you're in a positive spirit and an idea comes to you, that's the time that you go do something about it. People are watching this episode and like, I want to go do blank. Do it now, because you're going to wake up tomorrow and the energy will be gone and you're starting over again and the opportunity will pass you by.
When you're having those days, what do you tell yourself, or who helps you on those days? Because we can't all have 10 out of 10 days, right? Like we wish we could, but they're not always going to be a 10 out of 10. We have to accept that sometimes there's a 2 out of 10 or a 4 out of 10. What do you do on those days?
Yeah, so my habits save me for most of the time. I almost every day will have a Believe walk, and that's part of my morning routine. I wake up, I get outside, I go for a Believe walk, and that's getting fresh air. But I'm also listening to one of my own videos and responding to people in my community to remind me of the thing that I'm doing. I haven't. This part's a little weird, where like I haven't wanted to quit. People say, "What about quitting on you?" I haven't thought about quitting ever on YouTube. It's too connected now to like serving and what I do. But do I have days that are lower energy, or do I have days where I'm not thinking big enough? I mean, especially that one, 100%. You know,
yeah.
I think if you're consistently thinking about quitting, you have to understand the reason why. Is it because you're afraid, or is it because you don't want to do things? I think people stay in things too long. Like when people say don't quit. I think people should often quit on businesses sooner, relationships sooner, jobs sooner, because you'll never win doing work that you hate. But if the reason that you're quitting is because you're afraid, that's not a good enough reason. And so where I am challenging myself to do the most work is on bigger thinking. Like the biggest frustration for me is, okay, so if I'm at 3.5 million subscribers, how do I get to 35? Right. And how do I live in that vibe consistently? If I'm feeling super low energy, I'll take a break. You know, like I had people over at my house not too long ago for my birthday. I've invested into a bunch of different entrepreneurs, and I mentor them once a week, and they came over. I don't really celebrate my birthday. So I was like, okay, come on over for my birthday and we'll hang out together. And we spent 5 days together, and like all day, all night, fell behind on like everything I was doing. And then I had the Monday where like everybody went home kind of Sunday night, and like, okay, I'm not doing anything today. You know, like my voice started to get a little sore. It wasn't as like, it was so much high energy. This is today's recovery day. I think I posted on Instagram, like, recovery day today. I'll see you tomorrow. And I just checked out of everything that I was doing.
How do you get to that level? Because there's so much noise, isn't there? There's so many people competing, and people get, this is a bit of a long-winded question, but people get very disheartened because they don't get immediate results. So they say, oh, it doesn't work. So what would you say to those people?
Well, I don't know if you've seen my journey. I post it on my website. So if anybody wants to see how slowly I took at the beginning to get going, people use it as inspiration. I post every year. So I started in 2009, and every May I post where I'm at in terms of my subscriber growth. And the first year was 25 subscribers. And the second year is like 100 subscribers, something. In my 5th year, I still had 700 subscribers or something like that. And that's like, people will say, how did you not quit? Like, how do you keep going? You're in year 5 and you only have 700 something subscribers. Like, you might want to go find something else. You know, it's like, it's not working. Go do something else. So I love doing it. And I think that's why you have to love the process of the thing that you're doing. And if anybody, people, you know, I challenge people to do this because it's a fun thing, but a lot of times people will take that graphic of how I'm doing year by year, and then they put it into an Instagram post or video or tweet or something to say that they're beating Evan Carmichael, because most people are beating me. Most people by year 5, you know, already have more than 700 something subscribers. So you can say that you're ahead of me. Yeah. The only difference is I kept going. You know, I just kept going. I kept making it. I kept creating content. I kept sharing. And when people ask, well, how did you keep going? Like, how did you not quit? What gave you the inspiration and reason to keep going? I always focused on who I was serving instead of who I wasn't. Okay. And that made a huge shift for me, because most of us are in the who I'm not serving game, right? Even now, I've got 3 whatever million subscribers. Why is it not 4? Why is it not 5? Why is it not 10? You know, what the who I'm not game is never ending. Yeah. But who you are serving right now can make all the difference in the world. So that those 25 people in my first year, it's like, those are 25 people who subscribe to my channel. You know, like, that's pretty cool. I thought that was pretty cool. If you go and you speak at a library or a YMCA, or my first speaking gig was at a YMCA, and 25 people show up,
That's pretty cool. Now, I would think that's pretty cool. My first speaking, I had 3 people show up. So if 25 people showed up, that'd be pretty cool. And so if you could re-engineer your mind to think about that, hey, if I have 25 people or 100 people or 1,000 people or however big your audience is, it doesn't mean that you stop growing and you get complacent and you just only live in gratitude for what you've got. But if you focus on serving them instead of who you're not serving, it does a couple things. One, it's a lot more fun. You know, I feel like you matter and that the work you're doing is having an impact on people. And that fun, we all want to feel like we're doing something that matters. And so if you can actually connect to the thing that you're doing actually matters to somebody, maybe not the world. You and I want to serve the world. Cool. And if you knew that you did something today that helped at least one person, it's easy to have the motivation to keep going it and doing it again the next day, the next day, the next day. And 2, the people who you are serving will take you to the people who you're not serving. You know, like if you keep serving your people well, they'll tell their friends about you. Say, hey, go watch this person's video. And you never know the impact that you're having on people.
On your mission that you're on, what challenges with that format that you've built have you faced for what's next? And what's been the advantage of that format for what you've been able to build and the impact that you're making in the world?
My biggest limitation is still lack of belief. So people say, well, you're the believe guy. It's like, yeah, but I believe in myself to do the things that I've done now, but to do the next big thing, I don't believe myself to do the next big. So I still need the channel for myself because I want to wake up and have Oprah Winfrey or Steve Jobs or Elon Musk or whoever it is whispering messages in my ear to get me going to do the next thing. One of my you talk about the format of giving tribute to other people. At the beginning, it was just, hey, I've learned this from these people, and I think you might be able to learn too. I was just hoping to shortcut the path because my worst day in my first business was when I said I quit on my business partner. And I woke up the next day and said, I can't quit yet because I'm going to regret this if I don't figure this out. At least if it doesn't work out, fine. But at least know that I gave it everything because I don't want to look back and say, I wish I just tried a little bit harder. But I couldn't keep going the way that I was going. So I had to find another path. And the thing that came to me was I can't be the first person to try to solve this problem. Like somebody's figured this out. Why don't I just model success? Like model success wasn't words that I would use. You know, it was probably a lot more clumsy, but I can't be the first person to figure this out. Somebody's done it. And that's where I studied Bill Gates. It's like Bill Gates had who's got a software company? I had a software company. So who's got a successful software company? Bill Gates came to mind. This was not very advanced planning. It's just top of dome. So, okay, how did Microsoft get started? And how did he build? Like, not so much how does Bill Gates make an extra $1 million now? Who cares? But like 0 to 1, how do you do that? And it was through partnerships. And learning how he applied that in Microsoft, I brought that to my business and quickly after had my first check for $13,500. And that may not seem like a lot, but when you're making $300 a month, like $13,500, it's like, holy cow, this is a grand slam here. And more importantly, I could do that again. That was just one deal. I could close more deals. So the strategy there was model success. Find people who have done this and put that to use in your business or your life. And so I then went on this mission to continue learning how I can model other people's success. And then that eventually became a YouTube channel where I shared a lot of messages. A surprising benefit of that has been I've gotten to meet some of these people. You know, like I was just profiling some of them. And then now I get to do interviews with them or go hang out with them or go to their houses. And some of them have become friends, which was never part of the idea of what I could do. It's just, hey, I love your message. I'm trying to get it out to the world because if I learn from it, maybe other people like me can learn from it. And it's been amazing to be able to foster all those connections too.
I think if we look at Instagram, for example, it's a lot of people sharing all of their best moments. It's their highlight reel of their life and all these awards that you won and the beautiful Photoshop beach picture and all that. And I think there's still definitely a lot of that and a lot of people who are too afraid to ever show any kind of weakness. Even some people in the personal development space are like too afraid to show their weakness. And then some people are very candid and upfront and share everything, and that becomes their brand. You know, if you look at Gary, he's very open about how he struggles with being candid, having candid conversations. Mel Robbins is very open to sharing, like her brand of personal development is basically all the stuff that she's trying to figure out for herself.
Yeah.
She says, and then she learns and then she teaches. So I think, authenticity is a big buzzword people are throwing around. I think it can definitely help connect people to you. I think it just depends on who you're following. There's a lot of people who come off as perfect still, and they grow their following doing that. And there's a lot of people who lean into the other side and show all the warts, and that attracts people as well.
I love that, showing all the warts.
Showing all the warts. And you get to decide who you want to be, right? I think ultimately you'll be happier if you show the warts and what you're insecure about. And like James Altucher, a friend of the channel, he likes to say for his podcast that he basically thinks about what's the problem that he's most embarrassed about right now that like someone like him should have figured out, and then tell people about it. Like, what are you struggling with right now that you should have already figured out by now, and then tell people. And that makes him very endearing. That's why a lot of people love him.
When you think of an entrepreneur, what do you think, if you were going to mentor a young person, what do you think the 1 or 2 or 3 characteristics that you'd really want to see in somebody is before you said, you know what? Yeah, I think they're gonna make it happen no matter what.
I think there's some characteristics to winning. So a lot of the ones that you mentioned too, like persistence and dedication and hard work, is like that is definitely needed for our entrepreneurs. And they're just characteristics of winning. Like you could win and not be an entrepreneur and have persistence and dedication and faith and hard work. I think to succeed as an entrepreneur, you have to want to make something different for your life and for others, because there's always a path that's laid out for you. If you're talking to kids, like your parents have an ideal plan for you. They would love for you to go and do blank. And your school and guidance counselors, there's these very easy laid out plans of what you're supposed to do. You go to school and then you go to college and then you get a job, or you don't go to college and you follow in like family footsteps and whatever it is. But there's very easy paths to follow for your career, where being an entrepreneur usually means you have to step far outside those predetermined paths for you. And that's hard. When nobody in your family has done it, and when you don't have role models or mentors or people like you to talk to, that's really, really hard to step outside those predetermined paths. And that's what an entrepreneur is willing to do, is like not get stuck in the grooves that have been laid out for them, and they're going to set a new path for themselves. It doesn't mean they'll be super successful. There's lots of entrepreneurs who are below the poverty line, or like just making enough money, or it's just them and they're just getting by. Like most entrepreneurs are not mega wealthy, but they're doing it because they just want to create their own path for themselves and for the people around them.
Walk us through an average every day for you as a high performer.
Well, average every day, or when I was on tour doing 90 days?
On tour.
Yeah. So part of the reason for doing the tour was I was afraid of speaking. And I'd done a lot of speaking, but it was always just like, you speak and then you're scared, and then I come back home and then I'm fine. And then I wanted to get rid of this fear of speaking. And so I thought, okay, I'm just going to go and do 23 cities, and every 4 days speak again. Every 3-4 days, like a new city, do it again, get my reps in. And that became the starting point. So every 4th day, basically, I was in a new city speaking. Every 4th day, we also had to travel. We still had to work. And I wanted to spend some time with Nina. It was me, Nina, and my cameraman, Danny, for 90 days together. Hotel hopping, Airbnb hopping. It was a pretty chaotic but fun ride. When I go to events, I ask people to give me advice and feedback, the people who I respect on my videos, for example. And I'll always lead with, hey, tell me why I suck. Tell me where it sucks. And I know it doesn't suck, but what I'm doing is giving them permission to be honest, to say, okay, here's what I would actually fix. So say, hey, Evan, it doesn't suck, but I would fix these, 1, 2, 3 things to get the real advice. So they're not hiding the truth. But why am I able to do that? Well, because I'm grounded in knowing that the stuff is good, and I'm grounded in knowing that I love the work that I'm doing, right? So it allows for the push to go off and do more. The problem becomes is like, why are you going to do more? Is it grounded in
in service and kindness and trying to help people? Or is it grounded in, no, because if I get that Lamborghini, it's going to make me look good to people who I don't care about, right?
That was it right there. Yeah.
Right. So it's like service, but you have to feel connected to the service. You have to feel like the thing matters. So if you put out this episode and 5 people watch it or 5 million people watch it, I would tell myself that it's having an impact on at least one person. That even if you never, I've had shows where I'm like their first guest and it never gets published.
Right.
But hopefully in something I say today, maybe it moves you, Ashish, forward, and it has a little spark, because I've seen it enough where like 4 years later, 5 years later, 8 years later, we meet at some event and say, you know, that thing you told me back in 2022, dude, that like changed everything. Like I've seen enough of that happen that it makes me realize that this is really important, that like this work that I do to help really matters.
When it comes to serving or just building that belief within yourself, where do you think most people go wrong when it comes to trying to build more belief and actually start creating a life that, you know, they're fulfilled by, not just, you know, okay with?
I don't think they're thinking about it as much as making money. Like if just your question, like what mistake did people make on building a business that fulfills them? I don't think most people are asking themselves, what would be a business that fulfills me? Like that's the biggest problem. They're not asking the question. They might be saying, what's a business that makes me money? They might be saying, what's a business that maybe can have a big impact. But if you say, what's a business that fulfills me? I don't think people are really asking that question. And that's a great quarterly check-in, because the things that fulfilled you last year may not fulfill you anymore. Maybe you've grown past them. Maybe that was a fun little experiment and you don't like that thing as much anymore. It doesn't fulfill you anymore and you need to move on. I think a lot of people stay in the same business or same relationship for too long because it doesn't actually fulfill them anymore. So the biggest mistake is just not asking the question. Ask the question, you'll get some good answers.
What advice would you give to folks who are listening to this, who know that they're destined for more, and what message would you like to leave them with today?
Just to know that it's possible, that whatever that dream in your head is, that it's actually probably even small compared to what you're capable of, and that it's possible, and that people with less intelligence and less resources than you, your heroes, a lot of them started with less than what you have right now. You have Steven to pay attention to. You know, a lot of your heroes didn't have anybody and they figured it out. And so if they can, you can too. And it requires a different way of thinking. It requires a different way of acting. It requires you maybe saying no to some people and then saying yes to new people and new opportunities in your life. But your dream is possible. And you just have to wake up every day and take one more step towards making momentum happen towards it. Because I think for a lot of people, the biggest thing they're missing is just momentum.
We talk about James Altucher, something that he had mentioned on Twitter one day, and that really stuck with me was he added up all the minutes which add up to hours that we spend like watching TV and being in traffic and being in the restroom and being on Twitter and on social media and checking emails and texting people. And it came out to this ridiculous amount of hours per day. And then I think the question was posed like, you know, imagine what you could be creating instead of doing these other things. And so to your point, you were able to crank this out in a very short amount of time.
Yeah. And I started on a Tuesday. We had our Instagram live session on Tuesday. We finished at 3:00, and the book is called Momentum. So when she asked, when are you going to start? Well, how do I start it next year? Like, it's called Momentum. I kind of have to start like right now. If I'm going to call it Momentum, right? Yeah. If I was going to call it Procrastination, then that's fine. Next year. Great. So I had to start right away. And I got some words done that day. I got some words done the next day on the Wednesday. Wednesday is my project day, so it's completely open. So I had time to work on things. But then the day after that was Thursday. And Thursday is my public facing day, where it's wall to wall interviews and podcasts. And like, we're recording this on a Thursday. I don't know when it goes live, but it's wall to wall, 25 minutes on, 5-minute break, 25, like the whole day. It's like, well, I'm not going to get any work done on my book on Thursday. Like, there's no way. And I write this, like my insecurities and concerns. Like, I don't want to lose momentum on the book because I'm going to day 3 and there's 0 time to do it. And then on Thursday, 2 people cancel back to back last minute. So now I have like this hour in the middle of the day to actually do something. And so we think about it, like, what do we normally do if something happens? If I couldn't make this podcast for some reason, Freddie, I'm sick, Freddie, that happens. People cancel, reschedule, stuff always happens. What do we do in that time? Do we actually be intentional with it? Probably I would have, I don't know, checked email, checked my social media, something, probably not the highest leverage because I had something else planned. It got last minute changed. So I'm going to do something low value, but like, I got an hour. Let me write. This is fantastic. Right. And I think we actually can find these moments where we are wasting time or doing low level activity, where we stay busy. I think a lot of entrepreneurs stay busy on things that a lot of times don't matter. Like we do a lot of work that's not very efficient. We're distracted by a bunch of things, and the actual outcome of that thing is actually not that consequential versus taking action on a thing that actually means the most to us. So I think we have those moments. And again, I had a full schedule. I got 40 something people on my team. I'm running multiple businesses and agencies, and I had no time planned to write this book. On top of that, we had a health scare in the middle of it where my wife got this lump above her breast that we have to go to the doctor and like was insane. She's okay. Like I talk about that in the book. But that killed an entire day. I'm behind on everything. And yet still got the book done, 40,000 words in 5 days. If you're trying to get your journey going on YouTube, cool. Take a bite and see. Try making videos. Try doing vlogs. Try doing interviews. Try doing direct to camera. Try doing speeches. Try the things that you see and expect to suck at all of them at the beginning. You're not going to be good because you don't have the skill set yet. Doesn't mean you suck as a human. You don't have the skill set yet. But the thing to pay attention to is, did you enjoy it? How did you feel after doing it? You had that interview, and it's easy to go back. If you go back and watch your first interview, it's a train wreck. I mean, you're awkward and nervous and ask the wrong questions, and you can look back on it and say, oh my gosh, I should have done that. And you can go over it in your head a million times, but did you like it? Like, was it fun to do? Do you want to go back and do it again? Did it give you more energy than it took? And if it's a yes, then that's a great sign to keep going. Mm-hmm. And so a lot of people stop on YouTube because they don't get immediate results, because they're not doing something that they feel is authentic to them. And they're focused on who they're not serving instead of who they are serving. And they just judge themselves too harshly for not having a skill set yet. Like, you don't just get on a snowboard and go down the hill. You fall 80 times on your first run, and then you fall 50 times on your second run, right? And you get better as you go.
When did you start the habit of replacing those negative thoughts with positive ones? And then when did you start to see them take root and actually manifest in your life?
I don't know that I made a conscious choice that like, now I'm going to replace this thought with this thought. I think it's just as a result of being in the industry so long, watching so many, like if you think about what I do and how many videos I watch of how many successful people, they all have some core themes to them. And whether it's entrepreneurs or athletes or artists or musicians or whoever, they have similar themes. And turning lemonade or turning lemons into lemonade, turning the negative into a positive is a consistent theme across everybody. And so I think it happened subconsciously just by being in the environment of having those people around me virtually, to the point where I was doing that exercise, being forced to sit with negative thoughts, and I had changed, but I didn't notice. There was no moment of coming out of the cocoon and now I'm a butterfly. I just slowly became, here I am as a butterfly.
Gotcha. So it was just going through the process.
Yeah, it's like, imagine if you were working out your legs every day. you don't see a day-to-day difference.
Right.
There's no one moment like, oh, you did one extra hard set and now you've got these rippling calves ready to go, right? Yeah. But I think the only difference was I wasn't even consciously training. It was just because it was in my environment. And I think that happens for most people just in a negative way. You're constantly watching news and Twitter streams and all of this negativity, and all of a sudden, you start to become a negative person because of all the things that are happening around you. But it's not that you can pinpoint one thing that was the moment you became negative, or even notice that you're becoming negative. It's just happening.
Yeah.
And so that's the power of when you shift your environment and you're controlling what you're consuming into your brain. So I was conscious of what I was consuming. I wasn't conscious about a lot of the transformation that happened as a result. It's only in looking back or doing exercises like that
that I notice a difference. I mentioned grief as a caveat because that's the only one that I don't think you can just positive your way out of.
Sure.
You know, like I think you just have to feel your way through grief. At least me. You know, I haven't lost my parents, so that's awesome. But my family dog was like, that was the only time I haven't made videos in the past 10 years was when my family dog passed away.
Wow.
Because he died on filming day and I just couldn't film. And I could have, if it was anything else, if I was jealous, if it was angry, if I got cut off on traffic, if I lost a bunch of subscribers, I don't know, if something else happens, like, okay, come on, let's go, Carmichael, like, film. But I just didn't feel right to push past it to film. You know, like I filmed with a concussion and a broken neck and all this other stuff. But when Toby passed, like, I don't know, it doesn't feel right to just brush it away. And so I just have to feel this.
To achieve ultimate freedom, watch the video right there next to me. I think you'll love it. Continue to believe, and I'll see you there. Practice gives you ultimate freedom. The more you practice, the better you get at something, the more skilled you are at it, the more information you have, the more it actually allows you to play more, have more fun, be more flexible, and have ultimately more freedom.